Okay, super. We're very excited to be here. My name is Karen Wood. I'm the CMO of Treasure Data, and I'm very pleased to have with me a couple of customers from Treasure Data. A little bit about me before we get started into the conversation. I have been in the data and analytics space for a long time, focused on customer data platforms and AI. Treasure Data is a customer data platform that has evolved to become an AI native company. In fact, we have really big news that launched today around agentic AI that lives on top of a foundation of trusted customer data. So we're really excited about that. Please come to the Treasure Data booth at the end of this conference. We'd love to talk to you. And I would love for Holly and Shailesh to introduce yourselves as well. Holly, let's start with you.
Sure. Thanks. First of all, thank you for having me today. Really excited to be here. I am the Senior Director of Customer Engagement and MarTech Product at Hilton, which is a big mouthful that basically means I am responsible for setting the strategic roadmap for our MarTech stack and ensuring that we have the integrations and platforms set up to use our data in a way that supports our marketing goals of course, getting that right message, right customer, right channel, right time.
Hi, I'm Shailesh. I work at Universal Music Group as a Senior Director of Global Data and Analytics team. It's basically a data products team running or building a lot of products that brings our artists and fans together. I think there is a level of engagement that used to happen primarily on streaming sites or others, and we are looking at how do we bring it much more closer so we can build more engagement and drive more fandom. Before that, like Holly, I'm a data guy. I've worked in a lot of different industries, working on using data to enhance customer experiences. And I think where we are headed with AI, there's a lot of things we can do now faster. I think we'll talk more probably a little bit about that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Before we dive into all the juicy things we'll talk about with data and AI, is this your first time at NRF? And if so, what has the experience been like? Holly, we'll start with you.
Yes, first timer here, and being that I'm in travel and hospitality, I've been with Hilton for 10 years, so I've been in that industry a bit. And I now understand why it's called the big show. Like, this is huge. When you told me it was huge, I said, okay. And then I walked in and said, whoa. So yeah, really big, a little overwhelming, but it's been interesting to sit in some of these different sessions. I really do appreciate the opportunity to, when I can, step out of my industry and our vertical and see what other industries like retail are doing and how they're thinking about these technologies. And I think there's just a lot that we can all learn from each other. I know I've already learned a ton just from the sessions that I've attended.
Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. It's the first time. Very overwhelmed. But I think there's a lot to learn from peers in the group, what they're doing, maybe getting some new ideas about what we can in our company.
Yeah, this is my 10th year of NRF, so a seasoned veteran. It's overwhelming every year, but there's so much to learn, and I always appreciate coming back. It's also 2026. Another quick question before we jump in. Just any New Year's resolutions for 2026, either professionally or personally?
I can go. I want to have less screen time.
Yeah.
I think this is a great start because I'm talking to you people as opposed to just working on my computer at this time.
I like you said, well, I want to have less screen.
Yeah.
I made a resolution several years ago to not make New Year's resolutions anymore because I never keep them. But
so good.
I do like to take a moment at the beginning of the year to kind of reflect back on, okay, what do I want to kind of leave behind in 2025 and change? And so I think about it more like an intention, which feels less daunting. So mine would be around time management. I just think the calendar overwhelm has gotten crazy. And I do think this is also a space where AI, and I think you said we'll get into that, but maybe AI can help as well with achieving like a personal goal of just managing my time better and being more intentional about where I'm spending my calories.
Love that. Yeah, mine's a little boring. I'm just going to hit the gym a little more. but yeah, let's talk about AI since you brought it up. There is a lot of buzz around AI, and at Treasure Data, as I kind of alluded to, we really believe that good AI comes out of good data, and that data is a trusted data foundation. So I wanted to ask a little bit about data readiness and what each of you are doing. And Shailesh, let's start with you. What are you doing to help Universal Music Group with your data readiness?
It's a great question. I think maybe several of the peers here, they might operate in the same context we are. We're a global company, 50 plus territories, a lot of brands in thousands. Each of our artists are their own brands. So there's a lot of data collection that we do across different sites. I think one of the big changes we have done is standardized how we collect data, how we ingest it, how do we bring it together, and focusing on what are those key identifiers across different territories that helps us connect the dots and understand the story a little bit better. There's a lot of focus on data governance and privacy as we move on, even in the AI world. So we have established a robust set of data governance and controls. That way people can only do what they're supposed to, even the agents included. One other thing that I think that is critical is there's a lot of initiative that happens in the company that is not related to what we are doing. So we try to get them in alignment. Otherwise, if the data sources that we're collecting from are doing things differently, it kind of breaks things a little bit. So those are, I think, three things that we are doing right now.
Yeah, very similar for Hilton, because also being global company, lots of brands. We also have hundreds of millions of honors members with our loyalty program and just guests on a day-to-day basis. So as you can imagine, we are sitting on mounds and mounds of data, which is great, except that a few years ago, the place we were sitting that, again, I'm sure a lot of folks in the room might relate to this, is that the data was very siloed by channel or by system. So what we knew about you and how we interacted with you on email would be different than web, would be different than media, let alone on property. So we have started our multi-year journey of centralizing all of that, which we now have successfully. So we do have that single view of customer. And we were also able to integrate that back out to all of our digital channels. So now from data readiness to me, I sort of translate that into where are we on data maturity, which is how effectively can we use that now? So it's all well and good to just have it be sitting in one spot, but how are we getting what we need from the data that we have? Is it actually set up? So now we're kind of, as we start to activate it differently, we're finding that we're making tweaks to, maybe for this use case, the way that we have the profile designed needs to be slightly different. And so I think that agility around design and architecture is really important.
Yeah, and one of the things that comes up a lot with data readiness and just data in general is it's, of course, a struggle with the data itself, but it's also maybe struggle is the wrong word, but an interesting journey, shall we say, to bring the teams together around what the data strategy is and really bring in that change management for data. With AI coming on, of course, that's more important than ever and sort of requires a whole second layer of all of that. So how have you thought about and how have you brought the different teams together around your data and AI strategy? And Holly, let's start with you.
Yeah, the way that we approach it really, when it comes to AI and working cross-functionally with the teams, it's just taking the standard product approach, right? Of who all do we need to consider is going to be impacted. There's, of course, technology. There's also, of course, our privacy, legal, but then also the marketing teams that are involved. And for us, it was a little more clean cut because we are MarTech, so marketing being our stakeholders, we start there, but there's also utility across different parts of the organization. For instance, we set up our ecosystem for B2C, so that's how we've designed it and how it exists. However, our B2B teams, which sit separate from us, definitely have a vested interest, and it feels like a natural extension because our B2B customers are also honors members by and large. And so how do we understand them? If we're saying we want to improve the customer experience, we want to understand all facets of them, those things are a natural intersection.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to steal what Holly said before. I think we are a multi-brand company, and there are a lot of channels and a lot of different initiatives that goes with it. I think what helped us a lot is treasure data. we brought everything together and then established a solid foundation. And that everybody talks almost the same language because they're speaking of the same data that they're operating off. And how do we get alignment? Again, with all those different stakeholders, we just take a first pass at building our roadmap based on what we've heard from a business objective, business strategy perspective. We've done a lot of cross-functional workshops showing if we do this use case or if we have this feature, this is how it will benefit you. And I think that cross-functional workshop allows us to kind of validate our roadmap is adequate or not. And one thing we have changed is we don't do annual roadmaps as much. We focus a lot on quarterly roadmaps. Annually, we'll probably have a goal, what we want to do or what capabilities we want to build that comes top down. But as a team, we focus a lot what can we do this quarter because things are changing way too fast. So we need to all constantly adapt. We hear from our marketing stakeholders, I've heard about this. Can you build something like this for us? So I think that time to delivery has shortened a lot, the expectation wise. So I think that faster delivery and then being part of the equation with them on what we can do for them helps us getting that alignment.
What about you? Have you changed the process in terms of, with AI, the expectation, you're right, is that we move a lot faster. I mean, I feel that too, even at Treasure Data, where we're all moving in a much more agile fashion because new things are changing all the time. Did you experience it?
Yeah, we actually have been, similarly, for our tech teams specifically, there's been a shift to how we do that prioritization and planning and sequencing because it's not just is there capacity, but there is so much interdependency in a lot of these projects that we also have to think about, well, if we have these 5 things, is there one that actually needs to come first before we can actually build out the next thing effectively? And so we also are going more in sprints, so away from like a big annual plan. There are goals and there are visions for 2026, but when it comes down to the tactical, how do these things happen, it is in a much more agile kind of sprint fashion.
Yeah, I think the whole world is becoming more like that. Now, how about outcomes from the work that you've been doing with Treasure Data or just the work that you've been doing with data and AI? Can you share a few examples of outcomes that you've achieved?
Yeah. There's the tactical ones, of course, that in going through the exercise of centralizing our ability to build segments that can then go out to all of our digital touch points, that changes how we can think about campaign deployment. It helps make things a bit more efficient for teams as well. But what's more exciting to me is that we now have more context too that we didn't always have because we're also getting all of that engagement data and interactions are also coming into this dynamic view of the customer. And so to me, the ability to connect more with that intersection of the customer needs with the business and where we can truly meet them with what they need. So for instance, if you're on our site and you're browsing for a 2-night stay, we see, oh, Karen's looking for a 2-night stay. Mm-hmm. Karen is also 2 nights away from achieving diamond status. Mm-hmm. That's context that we can now give you wherever you are that is helpful to you and also helps us hopefully achieve our business needs.
Yeah, exciting.
Building up on that, I think that something similar, it allows us to hyper-personalize based on the data we're collecting across these touch points, and that is I think one of the largest impact we have seen. As we personalize better, as we personalize more, we have seen higher conversions, we have seen deeper engagement, we have seen signups go up, we have seen purchases go up because now we are targeting with the right message. But the other aspect of that is what Holly was talking about, the engagement data we get from that allows us to kind of validate what we are doing and also kind of change our tactics a little bit. The data we're collecting also as part of that allows us to build more signals about our fans that probably didn't exist before, that exists now. So again, there's a lot of pluses that comes in the equation as we think about how we leverage data, how we leverage AI as we go forward.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, both of you are very fortunate in that you've been on this journey for some time. So you're pretty well situated for this AI transformation that's happening now. But what advice would you give to others who maybe are earlier in their journey, both from a data point of view as well as AI, and just sort of advice for those just getting started or just earlier than both of you are in your journey?
I think I'll always, as a data guy, I always talk about data quality. That is key, without which any initiative with or without AI, your output or outcome will be marginalized. But moving forward, I think I get a lot of pitches from a lot of different people, and that are solutions. I feel like what I would suggest is start with your problem. Unless you know what your problem is, you are chasing behind a solution that may or may not work. I think laying out your end-to-end process, whatever your business process is, and identifying what the gaps are in that process, and then going for the solution helps a lot. I'll start with that, and having like incremental like successes, building upon that, also aids the equation.
Those are like totally agree with those. And the one I would add is especially when it comes to any type of technology evolution, is to not underestimate the power of change management and the importance of it. It's on the list of, if I could have a time machine and go back in time, I would do different, which is while we had alignment with the plan, while we went around and did all of our internal roadshows and story told, and everyone head nodded on the concept, like they got what we were trying to do and were supportive. The teams that were actually going to be activating in these systems, there was not enough change management around what does it actually mean, because it's all well and good to put these great new technologies into your stack, but if the processes, if the operating model around them doesn't also change with it, then it's going to be so much harder to get the value out of that investment.
That is a perfect segue into talking about AI, because AI is asking everybody to change their workflows and the way that they work every day. So with you, it's challenging to keep up with all that's changing. What are a couple of, just to keep up with it, what are a couple of practical strategies that each of you have just to stay on top, because it is changing and evolving so quickly, Holly?
Yeah. My first one is just to use it yourself. Make sure that in your day-to-day life, you are, whatever tools of the platforms that you have access to. At Hilton, we're using Copilot. So I make sure that I'm just engaging with it as much as possible, because even in your own little personal microcosm, you can start to learn where AI has some utility, where it helps, like where it's even adding value to me, which then can translate into these bigger picture, business understanding of it. And then obviously like podcasts, things like that. And then also the value of finding people in your organization that have really embraced AI and are really digging into it themselves can be really great partners. I have a partner in data science that we already had a standing one-on-one, but because he's just become a sponge with all of this stuff, now it's become a kind of our AI catch-up, and he'll send me YouTube videos on things, and it's evolving so rapidly that I think if you can find those partners to engage with, it can also be really valuable. And I'll also say for the women in the audience, there's like reports surfacing that we're behind our male counterparts in interacting with AI. So ladies, we need to get on it, because remember, all of these algorithms, they're learning from who's using them and who's engaging with it. And it's important that we just make sure there's balance there in the voices.
That's such a great point. And also, like, as you learn too, you can give back. And as you communicate to others, like, we're all learning. So it's good to give back. Yeah, Shailesh, what about you?
I think just one thing I'll add. I agree with whatever Holly was saying. Like, doing it in a personal life gives you some ideas that you can bring it to work too. But in addition to like internal and external speakers who kind of help us get there, I feel like every organization should have what we have an AI advocacy group that kind of coaches you where the boundaries are and where you can invest and where you can learn. I think that can also help. Otherwise, you can get lost.
Yeah. And in that journey, we talked about change management and how important that is for data, and you touched on it a little bit for AI. are there new areas of change management that are required for AI, or is the work that you did for the data foundation just around the data transformation to begin with kind of making its way into the new AI strategies? Or are you kind of having to do change management all over again with AI? And how do you think about that? And Shailesh, maybe we start with you.
I think we can build on those, foundations that we have used in the past in our data automation and marketing automation. AI, again, it's vast. It's difficult to see where and how things fit in. But if I deploy the same models that I've done in the past, identifying what are my use cases, what are my key use cases that I want to solve for, and who are the solution providers that exist who can solve for those use cases. What has helped me in the past is having targeted demos, just on the context of my company and how we operate. If those providers can provide some of those solutions, then I think I start there, do some bake-offs, do some POCs, and go from there.
Yeah. Likewise, I think it's actually very similar to how we would approach any technology that we are looking at, and again, that more product mindset of just what are the use cases? Are we really grounded in the strategy, and then going about it like we would any other cross-functional project. Yeah.
And okay, great. And as it's accelerated, it's getting, like you kind of touched on this with the POCs, and just like you have vendors that you work with already and just taking those POCs, but how has it changed the buying process just overall for buying technology? I assume it's adding some layers of complexity, but can you share any stories from the trenches on that?
I think one thing that helps us or has helped us in the past is we involve all our stakeholders from the onset, like different teams from different territories. So we built, I think, credibility from day one by creating the transparency in the process that we have. So when we build all the use cases also, we kind of go with their inputs, so they're part of the decision-making process. That makes the buying process a little easier. And also, it is just not our team who has to convince finance. I have a lot of champions sitting with me who convinces finance or whoever to pay for those investments. I think that has helped a little bit, yes.
Yeah. I think there's a healthy amount of skepticism.
Yeah.
Or there's healthy skepticism, I say that's healthy, around is it actually going to do what it's promising? Like when you see these crazy ROI numbers or really, because it is evolving so quickly to not getting caught up in the shiny object syndrome and thinking about what is it, what are those KPIs, what are those outcomes, and are we able to prove it, is also really critical for buy-in. So again, that kind of like prove it with a pilot. Can you do a demo in a small space so you can see, does this actually work? Does it actually integrate well with what we have? But I think more so is it doing what we thought or what we expected or what we needed, is what is really critical for investment buy-in.
And just kind of follow-up question on that. Are you seeing a lot of enthusiasm from your teams coming to you with, I want to try this, I want to try that? Or is it more hesitancy or kind of like a mix of both? Because I am seeing both on our teams and even just in the customers that we speak with. So I'm curious.
I think across the org, there's lots of, oh my God, this seems so cool. We should do this.
Nice.
What about this? And what about that? And not just even within MarTech, but across marketing all across the organization, actually, because there is such a focus on it, which it's great. And I love that people are excited. And also I want everyone to stay, just take a breath and stay grounded in what we're trying to do and maintain focus.
I agree 100% with that. I think there's a lot of excitement because everybody sees what others can do. They want to do the same thing. But I think each teams have different needs, and we are constantly trying to customize them so that it works for them as well.
Yeah, and it changes every day. Like every week there's something new or there's something evolved. So there's a lot to keep up with. Yeah. What about the challenges or concerns? So, it's exciting. Everyone's excited. But yeah, what concerns are you seeing or challenges in implementing AI for the AI that you are adopting or at least running a POC for?
I think there are two or three that comes to mind. One is because there is so much, we want to measure, we want to have measurable impact of these changes, and how do we do it? One thing that is still unclear, that we're still having conversation with our partners, is the underlying cost. Because once you give the tool, in the past, people used to come to different teams if they needed something. Now they have it in their own hands. What they do, how does it impact the underlying cost? That part is, I think, there's still more transparency needed in the organization or in the industry as such. Like, what can you do and how much it's going to cost you? Finally, there are, if I think about, should I be using OpenAI, should I be using Gemini? There's a lot of it's difficult to compare the different LLMs. Like, what is best for me? I think there is still some apprehension about that, and makes it difficult to make a decision. And so we have to do a lot of targeted POC just to see which LLM provider should I be using, what is the pros and cons of different architecture that I have, whether my underlying architecture can actually support it, and whether I'll be open to chaos when I expose that to all my users.
Those are really good ones. And I actually had not even had cost on my radar, but you're totally right. It is such a good one that in the data world, leading up to this, there was a lot of that kind of murkiness around if we as a brand are getting charged on compute, and there were these like black box metrics, right, that are really hard to understand, especially if you're a company that has a lot of high volume of data and interactions coming through. And I agree. It feels like there's the same level of a little bit of murkiness right now around what does that look like in the AI world? How does that, and especially because you want to use AI to help you scale and to offload a lot of these things that are going to be really robust computations. So that's a really good one. The other thing I'll just echo again is just the all of these different teams wanting to run at AI and having that excitement around it, but maybe not having the full, not only the strategy, but then also what does it look like when you try to then operationalize it? So say this thing works, is there actually a plan for who is going to run it? Who is going to watch out for it? Then what happens? Like, where else does this go? Ensuring you're looking beyond that pilot and that there is a really solid plan for who's going to pick up the ball and then run it after that.
It's super interesting because that gets back to cost, because a lot of the AI the cost is based on usage, on credit, like credit consumption, conversations, things like that. And the promise is everybody's using it, but you're just testing it and you don't know if they're going to use it or not. So it's really hard.
And then will they understand what they're getting to? I think not just the blind, okay, AI, it's telling me this, like, so I'm a marketer and I'm interacting with it and I'm just gonna 100% blindly trust what it's saying without having that gut check too, because there's and then also getting right, how much data is it reading from, that context engineering, right? Of it not too little, not too much, like what's the baby bear right amount?
Yeah.
Also, where you draw the line on what the AI can access and how do you draw the line? Data governance and privacy, we talked about briefly. If it has to be effective, it has to have more access. If it has more access, will it do things that it's not supposed to do?
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. How are you thinking through that, if I could ask?
Still thinking.
Yeah. Good segue into the next question, which is around the teams that you support. So kind of less technical teams, marketing teams, business users, teams like that. What are you thinking about for them? And like, what are they most excited about? And how are you looking to support those other users that aren't, again, on your core team?
Yeah, so we've definitely got, for the marketing side, I think there's the things like efficiency, automation, scale, you hear a lot. Like, so it could, if it takes us 4 weeks now to launch a campaign across these channels, can that be condensed? Can we offload some of these BAU processes and campaigns that are just running so that AI can pick those up? There's kind of those tactical things. But I also think the thing that I said sort of scares me is also the thing that excites me, in that it can democratize things like data. And whereas before you had teams that I, as a marketer, wanted to understand something from our data, I would need to be able to write a query or go to a team that can write a query, and then they get the data, and then it's got to get translated, and someone has to like pull an insight from that. Well, now a marketer could just go into the platform and through natural language ask what they're wanting to understand and have that be returned. I mean, that's really, really powerful and very exciting to make these insights more accessible, which to me means everything can just get accelerated.
Let's add one point to it. I think the discovery process is much faster now. Previously, the idea of what we want to do came through different people, but now the marketer can sit with the data, understand what story it is telling, and ideate different ideas and pitch it to, again, their superiors on how we should be thinking about the brand based on what the fans are, what the customers are telling us. Again, I feel like ultimately the marketers are becoming super marketers with all the different technologies that exist today. I've seen the Treasure Data Marketing super agent. I think that's cool too. Yeah, it brings marketers much closer to where the data resides. It tells the story better. Again, very excited to see where things takes us in the next year or two.
Super exciting. There's this new role of like AI translation or AI translators to take technical use cases and technical outputs from an AI and bring them back to the business users. But AI is evolving so quickly, the marketers can, like that is part of the marketing super agent, is to have marketers actually be able to understand that themselves. But to your point, it's only as good as the data that you put in. So there's also the balance of how did you set up the AI in the first place, because a non-technical marketer won't be as equipped to make the judgment of this is a good result or not a good result from the AI. What else are you most excited about for AI, if we haven't covered it already, if I could just ask?
I think making things like we talked about the accelerating the process, but also telling us what we couldn't think about in the past. If we are collecting things about our customers, how can we best use those data points to enrich our knowledge about our fans? How can we do better reporting based on what exists today that we couldn't think about? I think it always helps to have a second set of brains to help you think through. I think we're excited about some of these chatbot capabilities too, to kind of ideate with the chatbot. Hey, what do you think about this? If you want to draw an analogy like the Iron Man Jarvis, hey, tell me what can I do with this? I feel like that's something that we'll get there soon, but I think all the technology that exists today is helping us get closer to the data that exists that we couldn't access before.
Yeah, and also that the activation of that data that may have taken us years to get to certain use cases or light things up, it could happen much faster. And when you're in a world of, we in hospitality, we also want our digital interactions to have that same connection. How do we use our digital endpoints to do that? And I think AI can really help us with maybe scaling that and actually understanding bigger data sets, but mining more specific things about a person, about them, that kind of like just lead to a little bit more of that like customer intimacy that could be hard to get to when you're talking about how you're activating data.
And what about things where you're seeing, like if you could wave a magic wand and have AI do something, but you can't do it today, is there a specific thing in addition that you're looking forward to?
Like my laundry.
Yeah.
Really great. Family of 5, it's always in mounds everywhere.
Dishes.
Yeah, dishes. Where I go it is more personal stuff that like there's always this ticker tape in my mind of just all these things of, oh wait, I got to remember to do that, and I've got to remember to schedule this, and I've got to like, and I do think AI could probably help with like some of it, but I wish I could just like pull it out of my mind and just do those things, like offload that the mental weight.
I wish.
Yeah.
I think cloning some of our key resources, but not physically, but mentally. I feel like there's a lot of resources who help our customers or help our marketers, help our teams, but they cannot be everywhere. I think there are time zone restrictions. I feel like some of the things that we are building, or if I had a magic wand, I would like to have the same person, the thought process that person has can be replicated and supportive of the different language requirements or the time zone requirements. The answer is always simple. It is about just how do you communicate that. I feel like and communication is key. I feel like if AI can interact with the different teams and can provide the same level of knowledge that some of my key team members have, that'll be very helpful.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll just add one more thing. There's a lot of things we do manually to keep the health of our data up to date. I feel like if AI can interject and find things more proactively, that we don't have to be reactive at the end of the day, that would be very helpful too. I think there are some of the agents that do that, and we are exploring on how best to deploy them.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you're all describing, or you're both describing is, like a true assistant, a personal assistant that can help in all of these different ways or be proactive and come up with ideas. But today, there is a lot of feeding that we have to do, and it's like, what's more work to have to work with this AI or, yeah, but I think we'll get there. Now, when you look to the year ahead, what are your biggest focus areas and what are you thinking about? Either one of you can go. Yeah.
I think AI is one of the major focus areas for us. We are exploring how do we, again, we talked about data enrichment a little bit, we talked about marketing automation. We are at early stages and we want to double down on it, see how best we can scale them across our different teams. And as we do that, we also focus on how do we improve our tech ops, our DevOps on maintaining the health of our data infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, similarly, of course, AI, which we're kind of lumping into innovation. What do we want to test? How do we want to, like, having that plan for how we tackle that this year? And then also impact, which those two things to me work together. So the places that we have already made headway in our data readiness, that we have these things integrated, can we now really accelerate how we're understanding impact, insights, how we're driving business impact, how we activate that. And to me, AI is going to definitely be one of the things that helps us unlock that this year.
Yeah. And how are you both thinking about automation as it comes to that? So you're both incorporating AI, huge part of next year. We talked a little bit about the balance of needing to feed AI the right data and so on and so forth. At what point are you planning to let the AI take over more of the decision making, or how are you thinking about the human in the loop as you go into the next year of your AI initiatives?
In my opinion, as we stand today, there is going to be a human intervention there to constantly validate.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is new. Maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, that might change. Even like there's a lot of models that undergo changes. You heard of Gemini 3.0, Claude 4.5. So there is always change happening. At least for the next few years, there'll be a lot of changes. So you need somebody to be there to be part of the validation process. I feel, based on what I have seen and from some of the POCs we have done, that validation is key to build trust in data. Mm-hmm. We hear the word hallucination a lot, but in reality, what it means is I want to be told what is accurate as opposed to just be told something.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. There's a lot of human touch still within there. And so what that translates to in our world is keeping things a bit small and focused at the beginning, and where are there places where maybe we're less precious about what type of control we have or what the outcome is. Where can we find places where we're less risk averse on that thing, and it feels easier to let go of that control, because I do think that that's just a big part of it. So doing it in small places so that Shailesh said that we can get the trust in whatever the engine is that's making those decisions before we scale it.
Yep. And I would assume that would apply as well to using AI to help you predict and scope out and actually make some of those predictive decisions as well. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we are getting close to the end of time. I did want to ask kind of one final question, a couple of questions, but help those out in the audience. So the most surprising lesson that you've learned on your journey, and really it's kind of two journeys, but they're related journeys, and it's the journey of data and the transformation that you've done over the last several years working with Treasure Data, and it's also your AI journey. So you can speak to both separately, but I'd love to know, just again, advice for everyone here. What would you share with them as the most surprising or interesting lesson?
For me, the foundation that we have built,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like done right. I would like to feel we have done right, but done right, it helps you scale things faster. And also, as you talked about, a lot of things are changing, but if your foundation is always kept up to date with the needs of like where the world is headed. Like if you think about architecture also, you could have a robust architecture that can help you better integrate with some of these new capabilities. I feel like the lessons learned is spend a lot of time trying to see how flexible my underlying infrastructure could be, underlying architecture could be, so that I can do things faster. I can experiment faster. If I have to fail, I'll fail faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's our data journey. We're, over 100-year-old hospitality company that when we started to go through all of these migrations and transitions across systems, we'd open up this box and be like, oh my God, that's built how? And what is that doing? And how is that connected? And so at this point, I feel like nothing really surprises me, except that we were successful in getting it all cleaned up. But what continues to just interest me, so I won't say it's surprising, but I think it's really fascinating to watch, is how rapidly this is all evolving now. Like I feel like it just keeps accelerating. And it's incredible, and it is a lot to try to keep up with. But I just think the pace at which everything is evolving just keeps getting faster and faster.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I guess, it's kind of a surprise, not a surprise, but it's not relenting.
Right.
It is not slowing down.
It's not.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
We all have to figure out how to learn continuously.
Yeah.
You can never be complacent anymore.
Yeah.
You can embrace curiosity. It will be your best friend, I think, in a new world order. Yeah.
Well, that is fantastic advice. And with that, I think we'll end it there. Thank you both so much for doing this with us. Really great conversation. Really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you for coming. Please visit Treasure Data's booth here at the event, and then you can come talk to us after this as well. But thank you all very much, and thank you both.
Thank you.